Where can we go next with our budget being short just $1,000?
That was Leslie Austin just 2 days ago, upset after her wedding venue filed for bankruptcy without warning, saying the date for her wedding could not be guaranteed, but she still could not get her $1,000 security deposit back.
It's just frustrating that they booked people knowing that they were heading that way.
Mariah Sund also signed a contract and paid Grand Volute Ballroom around the same time. To help ease some of that frustration, a viewer who saw our story about the bankruptcy handed us 10 Benjamins, $1,000, and we're about to distribute $500 to each bride-to-be. It is $500.
Are you kidding? Well, this is money in my hand, but
A viewer saw it and saw your story, felt compelled to want to help out, turning tears of sorrow into tears of joy.
thank you. Please pass on my thanks.
You can thank them right there.
Thank you. It means so much. You don't even know.
They are giving you
Oh my gosh.
that right there.
Really?
So yeah, $500. So that should help go towards what you lost.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
I would like to tell them that I'm very grateful for what they've done.
And it doesn't stop there. That anonymous donor gave us even more cash for another bride-to-be.
Trying to figure it out.
Trying to figure it out. Okay, well, Rachel Helm feels their pain, making the same investment. But tonight, she too is feeling the love of our anonymous donor. That'll replace what you... Don't thank me, thank the anonymous donor.
Thank you very
You're welcome.
much.
$149.
Nestled on the ground floor of 50 Monroe,
Thank you. Have a good day.
Elliott's was once a hotspot for newspapers, magazines, and tobacco.
Most of them come play my lotteries in my lottos.
We used to have like 3 people working back here and stuff like that when the buildings were full and stuff going on.
Now forced to close their doors for good after a notice was served from CWD Real Estate,
How many times have they come down here and talked to me? 0.
forcing the owner Bill Bennett to vacate the store by January 15th because of building renovations. However, the store has since fallen on hard times.
The magazine business is tough nowadays too because it's diminishing like anything else. The cost of rent downtown is markedly gone up tremendously.
Bill says he's just working to pay the rent now. He says it's tough to keep up as a mom and pop shop with one of those larger retailers. That millennials just aren't buying newspapers and magazines anymore.
Profit margins aren't as good as they used to be.
I was upset because there ain't no other store around here, and I love these people. They good people.
Bennett says this isn't the first time he's closed down due to renovations, but it will surely be the last.
I'm 65 years old now. You know, if I was 20 years younger and stuff like that, and going on this stuff like that to make it good, and you know that.
Saying it's the customers he'll miss the most.
Because they're the good people in there. Yeah, always have been. They treat me right every time I come here. Yeah.
It's just the nature of the beast nowadays. All the people that you've known, and, you know, I kind of feel guilty because I'm leaving them behind, and it's like, you know, what can you do?
Wyatt's Law, after a year, finally got its day in a committee hearing, something they never thought they would see. And right behind these doors, one step was accomplished in their long journey ahead.
Wyatt has permanent brain damage. He is blind in his left eye from his shaking. He is cognitively impaired and developmentally delayed. And according to his doctors, he will never be able to live a normal life on his own.
Wyatt doesn't know it, but he's on a mission with his mother to make Michigan safer for children. A mission that started for Erica Hamill when the system failed them.
A month after she was sentenced for child abuse on my son and released, Rachel almost killed that little boy from shaking baby syndrome.
Erica Hamill and Christine Kadlitz were brought together by the same abuser, Rachel Edwards. Both their ex-husbands dated her, and she abused both their little boys.
The justice system definitely is wrapped around, protecting the abuser. And there's no rights for our kids.
Christine's son was given Seroquel, a manic bipolar medication. He was forced to drink soap out of a cup and slapped so hard it left welts on his body. Edwards, convicted for those crimes, was put on probation in order to pay fines. Months later, Wyatt was abused.
And had there been a searchable registry for convicted child abusers, I know this would have never happened to Wyatt.
Hamill had run a background check on Edwards, but her past convictions didn't show up, giving her no proof to keep Wyatt away from her.
What we currently have in place to protect our children is not working and is not good enough.
Which brings us to Wednesday's hearing, both moms pushing for lawmakers to adopt Wyatt's Law, 3 bills aimed at making a registry for convicted child abusers, 5 to 10 years on record depending on their crimes.
You can't be put on something like this for disciplining your child, and which I know is one of the big concerns about this. I mean, these are people that are convicted in a court of law. You can't get any more cut and dry than that.
That's Erica's response to opposition of the bills, which includes the head of the ACLU worried a system modeled after the sex offender registry, which has flaws, is too expensive and would keep offenders stuck in the system.
You know, have more difficulty with jobs and everything like that. You become maybe more of a burden to society. But on the same token, you know, there are some really bad cases out there. It was very clear to me, and I think our committee, that there is a problem. And I think the problem is not just the lack of a registry, but the proper enforcement of child abuse.
Another concern, timing.
In a House of Representatives, if it were to pass a committee, it then has to go to the House floor, then has to go to a Senate committee, then has to go to the Senate floor before it can ever get to the governor.
This is a lame duck session, as they say. Representative Hooker did tell us it's nearly impossible to get this bill passed in the next 3 weeks and get it to the governor. However, they do carry over bills, at least 10 of them, till next year, and Erica Hamill is hoping this is one of them. In Lansing, Cassandra Arsenault, Fox 17 News.
Yeah, during the day and from the outside, this is a car wash, but for 4 nights out of the year, at dark, 7 o'clock at night, it turns into the fright of your life.
Van's Car Wash off Apple Avenue in Muskegon, turning out the lights, transforming into the only haunted car wash in West Michigan. If you're looking for a good scare, the haunted wash runs from the 26th to the 29th from 7 to 9 p.m. The cost is $10 and all proceeds go to Muskegon's rescue mission. If you think it doesn't sound scary, the owner says, think again.
The equipment, like I said, the equipment shaking back and forth in the dark, scary enough. Anything that spins around or flings water with the strobe light on it pulsates. Like the weather right now. The weather outside is not great. It's rainy, it's cold. People waiting for a haunted house, they're waiting outside in a line, getting wet, getting cold, getting frustrated. You're waiting in your car. You're not gonna get wet waiting in your car, waiting in a line.
Pretty frightening stuff, you guys. If you want a good scare, come on out to Van's Car Wash. It's only 4 nights this week, $10, all proceeds go to charity. In Muskegon, Brody Carter, Fox 17 News.
I want this completed as soon as possible, and I want it done up to code, and I want it done right.
Shelly Harrison is frustrated, to say the least, after paying a man named Mark Boyer to build a patio, as well as a deck with a staircase connected to her balcony.
I gave him $4,000.
That was late June. She said he promised to have the job done by the end of July, but he didn't even start until August. She says he doesn't return her calls and comes and goes sporadically without notice. But here's the real problem. She accuses Boyer of taking shortcuts. An inspector, who I also spoke with, confirmed that.
Then they realized the work he had done was not up to code.
The inspector told me the posts in the ground aren't up to code and that they aren't deep enough. Boyer did end up getting a permit, but the inspector told me it was initially pulled under another contractor's name without that contractor's permission. Getting nothing but excuses about the botched job, Harrison reached out to the Fox 17 problem solvers, and we called Boyer. He didn't pick up, but minutes later, guess who showed up? He was already en route. He said he agreed the job should have been done by now.
How about the permit?
Probably the same as I probably should get paid for a job that I'm not getting paid for. We can have that discussion too.
She said she gave you $4,000.
Yeah, and how much was the total? $6,500. So
she's
I'm
not
giving you consent.
$6,500. So you expect her to pay the full amount up front?
Right now, all she's paid for is material. It looks like the material is all installed, and I don't know. You guys can go back there and take a look.
Well, I've seen the contract. I did take a look, and I've seen the contract.
But I'm not giving you consent to record me. I can tell you that.
We're on her property.
Really? Okay. Well, then.
Despite his objections, we had every right to record Boyer. After saying he was going to leave, He then decided to explain his side of the story, claiming the town inspector is forcing him to pull permits that aren't required. I guess these were pulled after the fact.
Right, because we're forced into it, and I don't agree with it.
You don't agree with it, so because you don't
agree.
agree with it, you're circumventing the law? You choose to circumvent the law? At that point, Boyer decided to pack up and leave. When is this going to be done? When will the job be done, Mark? Hey, Mark, you never answered my question. Are you going to finish the job?
I think it's deplorable what they're doing, and like they don't have a heart.
Look at these letters dated last week. In less than 30 days, Spectrum Community Services is terminating healthcare services for Brian Butler and for his roommate, Aaron Young.
I just felt like, why are they doing this?
Aaron and Brian are proud Central grads. They do regular stand-up comedy and read poetry at Stella's in Grand Rapids. But in order to take part in this community, they require around-the-clock care. Since June through Spectrum, they've had what's called community living support aides. They come daily to their apartment to suction Aaron's tracheotomy or help Brian cook meals.
The staff that is here is basically my hands and my feet.
It's care these men don't take for granted. But now the clock is ticking, with many agency workers already on vacation. So when these men go home to their parents for the holidays, they're not able to return to their home until they get answers.
When we go home, we get no interaction with the community.
I just feel like I like being in this community, but when you take away, it's like, here's caregivers. You have your life now. I'm gonna take it away from you. That's kind of what it feels like.
Calling their support coordinators, they say they're getting the runaround. They've even interviewed nurses to hire privately, but that's costly, and they're not being told how much of a state budget they have moving forward. Most of all, why do they have to change from agency to private care anyway?
We don't know when we will return, because we will have nothing to come back to.
We're at Lion in Monroe, and we want to show you this breastfeeding exhibit here at Art Prize. It's interactive on multiple fronts. If you can see the covers over some of the nursing mothers there, the artist behind this is removing one of them each day symbolically. And walking with me behind it, the artist has provided this shaded space for breastfeeding moms to nurse their children.
This is why women were given breasts. Sorry if you don't want to see it, but
it's life.
Yeah.
This is Muriel Smith's third Art Prize entry, focused on breaking down breastfeeding stigmas. You may know some of her work from the murals at the Air Zoo in Portage. And here she's painted mothers nursing their children, infants to toddlers, and shows some of the challenges to breastfeeding, including mothers nursing with a nipple shield and this supplemental milk system. So each day, she removes a nursing cover on one of her paintings in hopes to promote public nursing, something that is legally protected in 49 states, including Michigan's Breastfeeding Anti-Discrimination Act.
Still, there is a lot of anxiety about where to nurse, and that saddens me because I feel like if it was more normalized, if breasts weren't viewed so sexually in our culture, that there would be a lot better community.
I have no issue with public breastfeeding at all. Like I said, babies, they need to eat, they need taken care of. So.
And one more take home from this exhibit are a few cards from the artist for you to take. One to hand out to breastfeeding mothers, thanking them to boost confidence or show solidarity. The other is a reminder of the important right, the artist says, to mothers that they can breastfeed anywhere, anytime. We will have links to the Facebook page related to this and others for this exhibit at fox17online.com. We're downtown in Grand Rapids. Dana Chiklis, Fox 17 News.
The Kalamazoo County Mobile Operations Center is home base for many in charge of facing disasters, and it's the focal point for those clearing the scene on I-94.
We've had fire, we've had DEQ, we've had state police, we've had sheriff's department. A number of agencies have coordinated and operated out of this center for the duration.
Where the heads of agencies are coming face to face, dealing with the issues at hand. It's improved communication throughout agencies, allowing for the pileup to be cleaned in a timely manner.
We don't have to use it a lot, but when we use it, it is really helpful. Because otherwise, these guys would be trying to operate out of the back seats of cruisers or, the back of a fire truck.
Both directions of the freeway still closed Saturday morning after Friday's pileup, where mangled cars and semis were waiting to be towed off the road. 133 vehicles in the westbound lane and 60 headed east. Heavy traffic built up on secondary roads after police blocked off major rampways bordering the crash zone. But another problem Saturday morning halted the towing of vehicles.
There is a truck on the eastbound lane that has hazardous materials in it. The crews that were offloading or attempting to offload the hazardous materials were unable to do so in the dark.
Waiting for sunlight to unload a heavy load of formic acid. With a low flash point, officials were forced to remove the acid first, making the scene safe before they continued towing vehicles. State police say after vehicles are towed, MDOT will come and clean the interstate of debris, making sure the roads are safe and ready for travel. In Kalamazoo County, Brody Carter, Fox 17 News.
In addition to the police forces, I'd be remiss if I did not mention the work that the Sealy Automotive Group and the management at the Cracker Barrel restaurant did to assist in this case. Without their immediate response and assistance to aid the police in this community, we probably would not be here saying we have a suspect in custody. Their assistance was instrumental in helping the police make this arrest. It's hard to put into words the impact that something like this has. To be there and to know the loss that the community has suffered, the loss that the community will continue to suffer. You can't begin to put that into words.